Hey, welcome back to edtech by Meera, and today's lesson we are going to see how to make a basic URL shortener using Python. For this, the first step that we need to do is to import a library, namely the hashlib library. So import hashlib. After that, we need a dictionary, right, to store the whatever hash is generated, because the hashlib is for generating a hash for the long URL. So we use url.mapping as an empty dictionary first. Now, if you want to know what is a hash, basically the hash library is used to generate the SHA-256 hash of a string, or which is called a bytes data. So hash is like stored as a bytes data. Basically, it's a cryptographic hash function that produces that is a SHA-256, that produces a 256-bit or 32-byte hash value. And how is it represented? By a hexadecimal string. Yeah, so we will see how it goes. Now, after this, we have to define a function, and the name of the function is shorten URL, we call it, and the parameter is long URL. Why? Because from the long URL we want to create the shorten URL, the short URL. So name of the function is shorten URL, which we define as such. Inside that we do some tasks like first thing first, we need to create a short URL hash variable. So how do you characterize this? Allocate the value of short URL hash that is generated by the hashlib. So that is going to be hashlib. How do you get it? That is the hash value. So hashlib library dot SHA-256, as I mentioned, is a function in order to create this 256-bit hash value. And what are you, from where, which one are you going to convert into a 256-bit? The long URL, right? So inside the function long URL is a parameter dot encode. Now, why do you use the encode function? The encode function will return the encoded form of any given particular string. So that's why you need the encode function. And then dot hex digest. Now, hex digest is another function which will return the hash digest, or rather the hexadecimal string, in a human readable representation of the hash value. The hash value is a 256-bit, but when you want to change it into a readable version, you need to use the hex digest function. So in order to hash the string, we use the hashlib module SHA-256 function together with the encode function to convert the string into bytes, which is a required input for the SHA-256 function, and use the hex digest function to get the output as a readable representation of the hash value, human readable version, that is. Yeah. Then remind you, after hex digest function, sorry, you see the square bracket :6. Remember, that is for slicing the string. So here what happens when you slice from the 0 index until 6th index, so 6 being excluded, remember, in slicing. So until index 5 will be first 6 characters. So the first 6 characters will be sliced, and that is what you will be getting in the resultant output. So now short URL, we create another variable, and in what format you want, we format it, string format as F, the format, HTTPS short URL / in the curly braces we write short URL hash, because whatever value is generated for the short URL hash from the above function, we will place that value will be placed automatically within the curly braces. So the curly braces will function as a placeholder for placing the actual value, which we know that already in Python. Then the URL mapping, remember, it's the dictionary. So inside that we will be, whatever short URL you will get, the result will be stored inside the dictionary URL mapping, and that is going to be our original long URL. So this is why we have written URL mapping and the square braces short URL equals long URL, meaning the short URL that is stored inside the URL mapping is going to be our original long URL output. Then the function will return what? Short URL, right? As is expected. Then we create another function which is the main function. Inside, and this one you can call it main or anything else. You can even call it user, because here we want to get the long URL as input from the user. So this is going to be a user generated value. So we need to use the input function. Remember, for any user generated values, you need to use the input function. So long URL is going to be input, and then within that parenthesis you write whatever statement like input the long URL which is to be shortened, so that this will act as a prompt in order to get the actual long URL for the conversion from the user. So that is there. So we've created a variable long URL for getting a user generated value for the long URL prompt. Then short URL, which we've already created above, remember, using the above function. So now short URL equals shorten URL. What is shorten URL? Remember the function above, which we created, in which all the task was happening. So short URL is going to be the shorten URL parameter long URL, which means the function which had parameter long URL and the name of the function was shorten URL, that function is going to generate you the value for the short URL. This is how you read. Then what do you want to print out? Now this is all happening inside the main function in this case. Then you want to display or print out the short URL, right? Whatever task you've done here inside this main function. So print F format, the string format, short URL equals, again, the curly braces, short URL. Why? Because the curly braces in Python will actually work as a placeholder for the actual value of the string, whatever is generated. So that's why we say short URL colon short URL. So whatever value from the short URL variable will be generated will be automatically placed in that placeholder part. Yeah, and then after that we run the URL shortener by doing main, because inside the main function is going to be displayed the output for the short URL. So we call the function, we run it by calling the function main. The next slide. So let's do that. Call the function main. So by doing that, you will run the program to display the result. Yeah. So let's see how it goes. Okay, there's a bit of a mistake here. Oh yeah, there's a string which was not terminated. I forgot to write the closing part of this. I forgot to close the string. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, here it is. Input the long URL to be shortened. So you need to close the string with the accordingly. Open inverted as well as the close inverted, right? Sorry if it's a bit slow, but I think it's better to go slowly so that you can understand well and you can see and focus on the screen while I'm explaining. And this has been taken from the reference from the W3 resources, and a big thanks to them. Okay. Input. So I closed so now the string is terminated with the open and close inverted. Yeah. Then after that, let's check if everything else is okay. So we run the program again. Oh, okay. Now here we go. Correct. Input the long URL to be alerted. Remember the prompt that we created for the long URL. So now it's working. So it's prompting the user. So we work as a user here to give the long, to feed or input the long URL that you want to be shortened. Now remember, when you use Bitly and such, there are so many such tools whereby you can input your long URL, and that will help you and to give you the output of a shortened URL. So this app that you're creating works something like that, but it's a basic version of that. This is for complete beginners in Python. So to summarize, we use a hash library to generate a hash for the long URL. So we call this a hash-based approach. And basically, what is called like hashing, it's like using the SHA-256 function or hash of a string in order to produce a 256-bit or 32-byte hash value. And how is it represented? By a hexadecimal string. Then we use the encode function to return the encoded form of the provided string. Yeah, that has been encoded. And we also use a hex digest function to return the hash, or rather to return the string in a human readable value. So now we know what is hash, right? And why we use the hashlib modules like SHA-256 function and encode function to convert the string into bytes and then give the output as a human readable version. So that was the most complicated part, and that you know. And aside from that, we did we created the function for the shortener by calling it shorten URL and with the parameter of long URL, obviously. And that function helped us to generate the short URL by the hash method that was just explained, yeah, using the SHA-256 function and the encode function and also the hex digest function. And remember, we also use the slicing here. The colon 6 in the hash digest was actually helping you to take out the first 6 characters in the output, because in slicing colon 6 means starting from 0 index until the 5th index, where 6 index is left out, meaning first 6 characters are there in the output. And in the main function, it is using the input generated long URL in order to convert and give the output for the short URL. See, there you go. I've written a long URL here, https meera.teacherstech.blogspot.com. So there you go. Short URL, https short.url 1CBAE2 whatever, some characters. It's like, this is called the hexadecimal value character, which is in the human readable version. So now you were able to convert that long URL into short URL without using a paid version of Bitly. Hey. That's great. You can do it free of cost now. Yeah. So you can just go through the the main.py and look at the code again. It's quite simple. The importing part is there, the creating part of the dictionary to store the result of the short URL, then the function that is created to carry out the main hashing. There you go. And then after that, the formatting of the short URL in the way that you want, like you saw over there also in the result, short URL and then the forward slash and whatever the value, hash value. Then after that, after returning the short URL in the main, we were able to get the input from the user, the long URL, and convert that into the short URL because of the function shorten URL. Yeah, and then we call the main function to run the program. That's all, and then display the short URL result. So it was quite cool as that. And what I'll do is, in the next lesson, I will take a separate lesson tutorial on explaining about hashing. So I think it will become a bit more clearer to you. I'm just trying to put another value and check out a long URL. You can try by feeding different values. This is just for fun's sake. Try giving different types of long URLs and then press return. By mistake, I run the program instead of pressing return. So I need to do it again. Sorry, my keyboard is a bit of a hassle. There you go. Try again. Okay. I tried with the freecodecamp.org. There you go. That's my favorite URL. Oh, wow. See? Short.url, whatever. 37BFIC1C, whatever. So this is the human readable version of the hexadecimal string that was printed out. So now you know why we use the hexdigest function. It can convert the hash object into a hexadecimal string, which is a human readable version. So next lesson will be more on hashing, and I'll be doing more such projects and lessons. Yeah. Until then, thanks to those who are staying subscribed, and to those who've not yet subscribed, press and click on that subscribe button. Do not forget. And you can remember to subscribe to my newsletter also. I'll be giving